How we looking? And we're ready to go live. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And live.
All right. Welcome to episode 32 of the Eat for Life podcast, your home for esports, entrepreneurship, education, and entertainment. One of your hosts, Marcus Howard.
I am Chosen One. No, just kidding. Sebastian, Chosen, nice to meet you guys. Good to see you. Welcome back. If you're a regular, good to see you guys.
Brad Infamy, your master geektress, back live again.
And it's Mr. Dope Worker, aka Derek Marcus. Great week. What we got going on this week?
We have Miss Grace with us. She is a serial published author, a former investment banker, and she runs her own podcast. And she's also one of the selected people for the inaugural cohort of the LinkedIn Creators Accelerator. So thank you for joining us, Grace.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Grace, welcome on the show. Welcome on the show.
Yay!
Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and your books and what you've been doing recently.
Yeah, for sure. So recently, should I start with recently?
Okay, you can start recently. Go ahead.
Okay, so recently, Marcus and I got chosen by LinkedIn. So we're in the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator. I'm super excited for that. That starts next week, which is amazing. Before that, I was doing my podcast. So my podcast is called Smart Venture Podcast, where I interview leaders in tech or investors on career development. And before that, I was working in China in venture capital and private equity. And then before that, I was in Silicon Valley writing my books. And before that, I was in a regular job. So yeah, that's the TLDR of what's happening with me.
That's cool. What do you have planned for the LinkedIn Accelerator?
I want to just so I interview a lot of tech leaders on career development. I want to break it down into shorter form content so people can easily consume the tips and basically the learnings to accelerate their own career growth. What about you?
I'm going to focus on blockchain, the metaverse, also indie games, and then really doing some micro case studies on how non-endemic brands can use gaming and esports. Schools are doing it well, nothing in theory against the tier 1 organizations, but everyone thinks you have to go partner with them in order to have success with esports and gaming, and that's not the case. So I just want to share some examples where other companies are doing that.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interject. I'm not in the LinkedIn Accelerator program, so I hope I'm not overstepping my boundaries to say I wonder what you think about these tier 1 teams Marcus is talking about. If we say tier 1 teams, does that ring a bell to you as an investment banker or a published book author? Does the term tier 1 team mean anything to you?
Because my investment focus wasn't really in esports, so I'm not extremely familiar with, but I could guess, which is probably basically in the esports gaming, there is a lot of really well-known teams, assuming that's that.
No, really great. So that's really great. Now, I want to follow that up, and I'm making a point here for everybody watching. I hope you're seeing this. My follow-up is we have a brilliant published author here who's also an investment banker, so she makes investments for people or has made investments. Tier 1 team, can you name one for me?
Is 100 Thieves a tier 1
well
team?
Well done.
Okay.
Well done. And so that's my point. So as much as everybody who watches our show and is in the space sees 100 Thieves, it's kind of for somebody right outside the space, still to this day, a very important person, investment banker, still is it 100 Thieves? And that should put you in the space, because recently we've been having conversations on a company like FaZe Clan going public, right? You look at something going public for people to put their money into. As an investor, I guess my follow-up to this would be, before I have an opinion, because I'll give my opinion at the end. As an investor, would you invest into esports, I guess, brand that's like based on competitive, like a team, like basically a team, right? They're going public on the market, which is strange because you don't see like the Los Angeles Lakers or the Dallas Cowboys going public, right? What do you think about that? There's a team called FaZe Clan. They're going public, so people can just put their money in. They haven't really announced what their next business ventures are, so people can kind of get, overall scope of what the forecast looks like. But they're just raising money on the hopes that, like, hey, look, we're changing entertainment. Do you think that that's something based on what you know in your portfolio you would say is like, hey, like definitely a big opportunity? Obviously, you don't have all the fundamentals and all the information, but do you think that based on what you know about esports, which is quite a bit, I'm impressed, and based on what you know about investing, do you think that if a team like 100 Thieves or any team, in this case with FaZe Clan, because they're actually doing it, do you think it'd be smart to like invest into a team?
So based on like my knowledge, which is doesn't exist. So I heard about FaZe Clan because FaZe Banks was like a really kind of like famous like YouTuber. So from my understanding, besides doing games, they were doing a lot of really interesting either like content or like they're launching their own merch, right? Like their merch are like sales for like millions of dollars. And like basically I feel like from an investment perspective, since I'm not really exactly in the esports sector, so I can only speaking from my own like personal opinion whatsoever. Like, so
Sure.
I think looking at what they're doing, I think there's a couple of things that that's really interesting. I wouldn't say I would or I won't, since I don't really have exactly the knowledge. I think one thing they're doing really interesting that's picking up a really big trend, which is creator economy. All the VCs are talking about, and like people like major VC firms are investing a lot of money into creating tools for creators. And I think that's like a really huge trend, as you know, the next generation of Nikes are not going to be from like making from like a couple people making shoes, but it's more about like a creator launching their own brand. For example, like Emma Chamberlain, she launched her like coffee company, and then she is partnering up with, I believe from my like just internet stalking, but like I think she is probably partnering up with like a private equity company, or like partnering up with someone who have created coffee business before to create her own brand.
Right.
And we see like Mr. Beast like launching Mr. Beast burger, and like those are just like amazing creator launched brands. And
Right.
like, you know, do you see them like beating McDonald's now? Probably not, but like in the future, who knows? I feel like that's definitely a great reason to invest in FaZe Clan. And also like right now, you know, NFT is hot. Like, you know, based on my I'm not like an expert at all, but I would totally see them launching some really high ticket like stuff. For example, they could creating some event or tournament towards like, you know, people who are passionate about their brand. And when they're launching something like that, I do see the investment coming back, right? Like, and then so I feel like it's definitely a really exciting they're definitely tapping into some really exciting sectors that are really trending in the entire VC ecosystem.
Okay, yeah, I think that's interesting. I never thought about kind of what all the VCs are doing, following a trend of that, because that could lean in the favor. For me, when a company goes public, I just want to kind of follow. Thank you for that too, by the way. Really great perspective. I'd love to hear you guys' perspective too. I've sat with this for a couple weeks now because you know, I've been very critical on FaZe Clan, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't like coming from like an angle of like, yeah, you know, whatever they're doing, whatever. I wanted to be like serious about the space and think about what it is. And I feel like I'm with you. There's like two verticals, right? Like there's merch, right? And then there's content. And I look at merch and content and I think like, what else on the stock market is performing really well because of merch and content? And I think of like Peloton, and I think of like couple other companies that, you know, you could kind of put in there, but like my trouble for like investing in it is like I my background is I used to go to tournaments, so I would go to tournaments for years and years and years and years. I can't think of a business model that would line up for it to become a public company. You see what I mean? Like for something to have investment of millions from the public, but I guess you're right. You know, you look to the future. Fortune favors the bold. So, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
get it.
things are shifting, to look at it like Grace, what you were saying as far as the content factor. For example, that's what Nike and Adidas is doing, even like entering the metaverse. They're looking for, especially Adidas, I would say, in my opinion, is walking the right path with it over Nike at the moment, because they really want to see who's up next and who can create with them in a space. So the content creation thing is for sure something that's kind of shifting. And I guess, like, of course, we have the NFTs, which is non-traditional. We have crypto, which is non-traditional in finance. And then, of course, yeah. Huh?
I thought it was non-fungible.
It's both.
No, I'm saying NFTs and then crypto, they're not traditional in anything, at all. Like, NFTs we had around for years, of course, in gaming, but it's something that's not traditional to actually make money off of. And now these big corporations want to set forth and diverse their own portfolio and say, hey, I want to enter this digital age so I can still be relevant when some things might go left. And it's totally different from the traditional standpoint of, okay, FaZe Clan want to go public, but what's going to be the next things they also want to do within the so-called metaverse and so forth. So it's like they want to play both sides of the fence to kind of have some type of equity with their company.
Right. Makes sense. I guess like no one knows what's coming next. You just kind of prepare for it. So I guess so. I just like, I like the idea of being in bed with the makers. Like if I invest in anybody, I'm invested in NVIDIA. I'm invested in
AMD
esports entertainment group. I'm waiting for Skills to go public. Because they got all those like, $1 bet games, right? Like the publishers I'm always gonna go with because they got the stuff, man. They got the junk, but they got what you're looking for. A team, I just don't know. Public is like, for example, you don't think that like FaZe Clan is bigger than like 100 Thieves, right? You don't think they're like bigger, like as like far as like, because really we know that, and Marcus, I'm sure you would chime in here. We know that like this model is not profitable, right? Like we know it's not profitable because like they're raising rounds and rounds of money, so it's like they're not necessarily profitable. But like even someone like 100 Thieves, who's the same size, competitive, right? It's like they just raised another 60 million. So if FaZe Clan doesn't have to raise another round, they're just going to go straight to the public. What is the offering? That's what I'm interested to see, what that initial public offering is, because Grace is right. Maybe there is a new product or whatever, because as it currently stands, merch and tournaments isn't going to turn around to make a bill happen. We've been doing tournaments for years. So, like, I want a class action lawsuit. Like,
interesting. Like, I mean, are they launching any? Well, are they doing any licensing stuff? For example, are they like leveraging their brands to do some like giant collaborations?
They do pretty big. I mean, I've seen McDonald's, I've seen Batman, I've seen Nissan. But again, these are things that like you said, Grace, influencers doing that. And influencers not going public on the stock market. Like that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like and there's influencers doing bigger. Like, you see what I mean? Like that's.
I guess it's because they're a machine now. They don't need a machine. They are a machine. Like, of course, an influencer a lot of times sometimes need a machine to pivot off of. But like FaZe Clan, and like she mentioned, the first thing she mentioned was 100 Thieves, because 100 Thieves kind of gets it with culture and diversifying different things instead of just being known as an esports team. But I'm like, FaZe Clan and the rest of them that are huge, they're now machines. Like, people are coming to them. Right. They're not going to people.
Right. Definitely get that. Definitely get that. Right.
What I'm keeping my thoughts on about as they go public is what makes them different. And I'm no investor, but Grace, I think you could probably resonate with this. When you look at an investment opportunity, you're like, what differentiates you from the rest of the market, from your competitors? And to Chosen's point, we think about like creating content or merchandise, like literally every other team is doing that, right? So I wonder when they get to the market, what they're going to do, because just to go back to 100 Thieves, they raised $60 million to go acquire other companies that are profitable because they're not profitable.
Right.
So
like, that's what they raised it for. Thank you for clarifying that. Like, to clarify for anybody watching, they went to go buy other stuff because merch and all that is not doing anything but probably breaking even on the bills and a little bit of money for the 10, 20, 30 people there. But we're talking about going public for like Airbnb had to do a lot of houses and apartments to be like, okay, we can go public now. Like 7-8 years of like selling shirts and stuff. You know, I mean, I feel like Louis Vuitton and those guys have like like just look at that's what I mean. Like, and
they had to go buy the companies.
I mean, right.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's my thing. It's like, to wrap on my thoughts, I agree with Grace. Okay. I think someone can do it, but I think the way 100 Thieves is doing it, and Red, you said that too, is the right steps. Like, if you're going to go get more money because you want to do things like that, that's great. Because you might need, hey, look, our players all need a training program. We can't have some, hey, we're going to we'll make you go pro program. We're going to buy this $30 whatever Meta Arena. You know what I'm saying? We're $30 million Meta Arena. We're going to buy it. And that's going to thing or whatever. Like, I get that. Okay. We see all these brand deals in D. I know you pay attention to this. All these brand deals, all this, that, third. What like a creator program or what like that have you seen? What like anything like that grows their economy? You see what I'm saying? That grows it. You haven't seen it's all like we partner with Batman, we partner with Nissan, we're popular. LeBron's son is in it. That's the thing. That's our gimmick. That's what we're pushing on you. And so that's what I'm wary of. I'm like, bro, these people just ripped off a bunch of children with the NFT. Like, they just ripped them off with it. It just happened. I didn't even make this up. This just took place. They just kicked those two people out of FaZe Clan, and then a month later went public. Like, hey, if it worked with NFTs, it's got to work on the stuff. That's kind of how I've been seeing things. Okay, I'm done with that. But I wanted to say, speaking of NFT, I saw a commercial on TV the other day for an NFT program that was like dinosaur images, but it was like an ad. It was an ad. It was like a daytime ad. And I don't know what I was doing watching daytime TV, but it was a daytime ad. And it was like NFTs been selling for 6 million, 3 million, whatever. So of course I turned around. I'm like, yo, this is about NFTs. I took everything off. And then it was like dinosaur NFT. And I told myself I was going to remember the links when I got here tonight. I can remember. But I went to the website, and the website was just like a landing page trying to get me to buy like a $300 like image so that I could like resell it. But it didn't tell me where to resell it. But they had their website, their landing page, and they were running ads on Spectrum. So like, tell me, what do you think about the NFT phase right now? And I would love to hear from all four of you because it's been very long since we've kind of delved into NFTs since they just came out and Marcus was showing us Brave and all the stuff. Like, what is your opinions now in real time? You guys can track how we've come along with this NFT journey from 6 months ago. We were talking about that.
Yeah, I'll defer to Grace since she's our guest. If you want to share some thoughts first, or if you want to wait, you're welcome to share afterwards.
I can wait.
Okay. I see it as another bubble, right? I've been in the blockchain crypto space since 2013, been following it since 2011. And I was as boots on the ground as you can get in a virtual space when like the ICO bubble happened, when everybody was doing ICOs. Hey, we're going to launch this token. We're going to launch that token. And I think if you go back and look at the stats, like I want to say 80% of those ICOs were scams. And now I'm starting to see the same thing. Like some of these real companies are launching, what is it? Sandbox has like an early access, like alpha pass. And I can't remember who shared on LinkedIn, but like they only minted 7,000 or 5,000 of them. And there's like 75,000 of these passes on OpenSea, which is basically like the Amazon.com for buying NFTs. Right. So people are like left and right trying to rip these things off as quickly as possible. So I think it's ripe for scams. I think it's growing. A lot of real value is being created, but it stinks of a bubble, just like the .com bubble and the ICO bubble. And again, there's nothing wrong with bubbles because when bubbles burst, it doesn't mean like an industry implodes, right? Like the .com bubble burst, we got Amazon and Google and Yahoo and all these great companies came after the bubble burst. But I think that's where we are now, is like, it's just so much hype that I would just be cautiously optimistic. I'll leave it at that.
I like that. That's a good point.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of like, I would say like I agree with you. Like I guess like, so I was really fortunate to have like the founder of OpenSea on the show, and then I went to NFT NYC just to like learn about the space. And I'm definitely not an expert, but like while my journey of learning this this product slash community slash this whole like NFT situation, like I feel like I have a mixed feeling about it. I would say like the original, the OG NFTs are, I think they're still gonna be, the value is going to be going up because of, we can see the Bored Ape was like signing deal with like bigger like Hollywood agencies to actually become like I guess singing monkeys or singing apes. And then there's a lot of like really strong communities that's built through NFTs. For example, when I went to like the NFT NYC events, like Gary Vee was tweeting at 11 p.m. and like people were showing up to go to his NFT related wine related event that were like blocking streets basically. And I see the enthusiasm like of that entire community, and I see a lot of bigger profile tech leaders joining that space, like heavily investing in that space. So I feel like the community is kind of there. It's like pretty there, like, and like I feel like because of the community is so engaged and so active, so I feel like I have a positive feeling in that direction. And I see people that like, there was an NFT that you can only get it in like Italy or whatever, in like a gallery in Italy, and then there was like people just like flew in to get an NFT there. And then you feel like the stronger bond when you recognize the other person also did that. So that's like a different way of like, pursuing a hobby, like going on a yoga retreat, or like you and I both like share the same passion for like Beyonce songs, so like basically similar to that, right? And then on the other hand, like there is so many really random NFT projects that's just like trying to rip your money off, and like you see them like just making it off, I don't know, like downloading a picture from the internet or hiring a Fiverr designer and like launching it on top of OpenSea or something. So you see like both situations. So like I kind of like have a mixed feeling. I feel like yeah, it's like still like a lot to learn in the space.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's a great point, because I feel like I definitely see like I'm a sales guy, I'm a hustler converted into a sales guy, if you really want to get, dirty.
Same thing.
I basically I see the benefit of NFTs, like money making right now, but I also see like, just like as a hustler, I know when people are just able to get hustled, and like we're in that season right now where it's just like everybody's gonna get, any market that grows, the black market grows aside it. So like now the NFTs are going like this, so is the black market. So it's like you gotta let it cool off a little bit and find that perfect spot, if you ask me, right? Like I would let it cool off. Yeah, you're gonna miss that first wave. Okay, so you ain't gonna make 6 million off your first picture. Okay, that's cool. Like that's not probably for you anyway, but you're not gonna get burnt for 200,000 trying to play around with this dude who told you got some rare picture in Italy, and then you got on the plane and went over there, and they didn't even have the place he told you wasn't even there. So
Yeah.
you don't want things like that. So for me, it's like let it stabilize. Right now, it's too much of them people. And like in every society, I think we're getting ready to go digital. It's clear. Everybody knows that. So every society, like I try to think of like I think of the Romans, right? And I think like 200 years in the future, people are probably looking back like, damn, they thought they had it together, but they didn't. It's like I look at like American society, and I look at it like we're building so much technology and so much NFT stuff fast. A bunch of people is going to have to get burned. It's just going to have to be. It's like the nature and natural selection. Like some people are going to put it out, and then some people are going to buy the bad. So I'm just kind of trying to wait for that, if that makes any sense. Like that's kind of, so what you're saying makes a lot of sense, because I see it the same way. I'm like, It's kind of gotta wait until like it's for sure. Like I'm a good hustler in the fiat system, so I figure when it switches to the crypto system, I'll just be a good hustler over there. If you want 2 Bitcoins, I got you. What time you need it? You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't really matter to me. I'm not gonna focus on like trying to win the market because that's probably most people who are gonna feed the market with their hard-earned money. For real.
I mean, the way I see with NFTs today and how they could work, just like what Grace was talking about community wise. For example, like I'm a sneakerhead. I love comics. You know, people in those different categories love to collect. They love to have something that is memorable, but also historical too. So it does open up room for people in those categories that are collectors. There's always a collector's market for something. And yes, like what you were saying, Chosen, like as soon as something digital is rising, is on top, is popping, then you got the back end that's trying to like scam people at the same time. I think that's what anything right now. But I think it's a great time for artists. You know, a long time ago, artists, they had to do so much just to get their art out. Some people was too frugal with their talents and thought it wasn't possible to get seen. And now we live in a space and an age where all of that can pop off. And then these same artists could work with other companies and they can have their own thing. Then on another end, we have a new market or people, period, that they're able to collect some type of value and they don't have to be in a certain percentage in society to own a piece of art that can be valuable. You know, I would love to own a Basquiat right now. Don't have Basquiat money. But if they come out with a Basquiat NFT, I can still hold as one of my favorite artists in history. I can still get that and own it, and it can grow in value, and I can pass it along. You get what I'm saying? Like there can still be some generational type of wealth there, even with that too. So it's the wild, wild west right now, but I think there's so much that people are able to access with NFTs. And someone as far as us being like gamers as well, we've seen it. It's just that we didn't have ownership. So it's one thing to pay for something like a skin or some drip or whatever that you'll get like clothes in a game or anything to spruce up your character. We paid for it, but we didn't actually own it because once those servers go down, so that game is done. It's like we don't own that stuff anymore. So at least we can get something that we can own, put it in a wallet and have it, even if that, let's say the artist goes away and we never hear from that artist again, like on some Frank Ocean Sade tip. Like we never hear them ever again. At least we still have that ownership of that piece, no matter what.
Good point. I think it is interesting. I was thinking about doing the Chicago Bulls this year. I just knew they was going to be good. And now they beat the Brooklyn Nets today. And I thought, should have made that NFT because I would have had it out. I would have been promoting it from August. And now they're going to go to the damn finals. And I'm just be like, should have it.
Because I mean, it's a possibility they can.
I'm telling you, they my pick. They my pick. Just FYI, let the recording show. They're my pick out of the East. Okay.
Yeah, I said the Bulls too. The Bulls have I said Suns in the Bulls or Warriors in the Bulls. That's what I was saying.
Warriors. Suns can do it too.
So when I think of MTNTs, I would like to see the trail of like these transactions, like in real world, where like, oh, I made this in NFT, this person purchased it, and why did you purchase it at a price? Because I feel like there's a lot of smoke screens that can go on. You know what I mean? Like you can fake this. I can make an NFT and have my rich uncle that says, "Oh, I bought it for 20 grand," and everybody think my NFTs is worth 20 grand, so now everyone's buying.
Yeah, that's like if you just get that one person to make it pop, then it gives it value because of course it's an NFT, is non-fungible. So like I can put whatever value I hold to it if I'm able to put a lot behind it. So yeah, if you're able to get that rich uncle or that poppin' whomever artists, musical artists, celebrity of whatever cause. I mean, look at music artists right now. They caught on to NFTs, and now if you want to buy pre-order their album and get NFT. A long time ago, we never seen pre-orders of albums to get, because there was nothing to get. It's like, you want me to pre-order your album for what? So it's going to drop that day, and I'm going to have it. And now, since so much, we have Spotify and Apple Music, I guess we could throw in Tidal.
I can't believe you said that. I have Tidal, and I've had it for 13 months, and I've loved it. I can't believe that.
Their business model was just not up to par, in my opinion.
It caught up. The hi-fi thing. It's free now. It's free. Hi-fi.
It's too late. It's kind of late. They need to do something. Okay, make E for Life the #1 podcast on Tidal.
You heard it.
Do that.
You heard it.
Right? You don't have it. So but it's something that now somebody can have something that it's not tangible, but at least it's something that you can get as an incentive to do something. Right. It's a call. So a lot of NFTs a lot of times could be call to actions for things, but you're able to own something at the same time. So yeah, you can make a value on something. The only thing, I was looking at someone today, and because of course it's ran on blockchain, those fees, because to put up sometimes an NFT, the fees could be really high as well. Just like how you can obtain crypto, it could be high, the certain fees that's up like that. So I'm curious as to what platforms are going to come about to kind of shave those fees down, so someone can be profitable in what they're trying to do, and also for the people trying to obtain it to not get hit over the head and fees in order to get it.
I just enjoy the economic empowerment part. That technology, you know what I mean? For technology.
Facts.
Yep. I did want to ask Grace though. Grace, how was it writing your first book?
Writing my first book. So, because my books were majorly interview or story based. So I just interview a ton of people basically. So I feel it was really interesting. It was a lot of learning for sure. Yeah. So
did you stay on timetable, or did your deadline slip a little bit?
I created a timetable, and yeah. So I majorly just break it down into weeks. I wanted to get things done really fast, but I would say for my books, although it didn't really take that much time to finish it, but I did take a lot of time to research the space, or to build the relationship prior to actually to write, or to create the outline, or to tell the story. I feel a lot of it was just learning about the space. I feel writing a book is really helpful when you want to learn about something. So I highly suggest, if your goal is to learn something, try to teach something. So it's all about I think the more you output is you have to input more. You have to really study a specific sector, or researching different industry leaders, or having a plan on educating yourself before creating a project. I think
was it
those are the best projects.
Was it stressful? What? Was it stressful or enjoyable?
I think it's more stressful to not do something. I would just either regret or feel anxious. I feel I have to be busy to do something than not do something. So I think doing things making me feel relaxed.
How long did it take you to? First book was how many months, and then the second book was how many months?
I would say as mentioned, I feel I spent a lot of time to research an industry, to actually research the story. So my first book is a collection of stories of how people start their business, all of the people who featured in the book are like on Forbes 30. And then for the second book was like everybody were 22 investors on the Forbes Midases. So those are investors who invest in these like top tech companies like Facebook or Apple or like LinkedIn. So I think researching the book takes a while. Like I would like start like just like chatting with friends in like 2015 or 2016 to just like ask them like how they started their company. So like I guess like why I started the book was because of like I wanted to create my own company. I wanted to learn from people who have done it. And like so I started like asking friends and then like after maybe like having a ton of like coffee chat, I get like an idea of like, you know, what are some topics I should be covering. So for example, how do you raise funding? How do you do marketing? How do you come up with the idea? How do you find a co-founder? Those are like topics that like through the like tons of like conversation with people that I came up with, and identifying people to interview or like identifying people to like collaborating on the book or all like just like I guess it's all a part of it. So but what about you? So Marcus, you just finished your own book. So tell us more about what's going on with your book.
Flip the script.
I think I'm at 18, 19 months now. By the time the book will be landed, it'll be 2 years. I started it, and my publisher really had like a very specific formula for how they do their books. They've done about 200 of these books. And I said, well, I want to make it less kind of self-promotional about companies and more an educational resource for people who want to learn about the industry. Very, very similar to what you were just saying. And because of that, I had to basically shift their business model in several places to make that work. And they've been very trusting of me to make that happen. And so it's been worth the wait and worth the work. But yeah, I've been at this about 19 months now, and I can't wait for it to be done. I think I've got one more page of content to finish up tomorrow, and then it's going to go out to everyone who's in the book, including everyone featured here and our producer are all in there. I'm sure you've read about them. Everyone to get about two days or so to review it, and then we'll digitally publish it on Thursday, send the master file to the printer in Europe, and hopefully we'll get the copies back in time for the events we have scheduled for Q1 next year.
Yeah, that's super cool. Like what are like, so when you wrote the book, like who are your like ideal like audience? Who were you writing it for?
I was writing it for me as a 16-year-old and my parents and my teachers as a 16-year-old, and as the community leaders for where I live now here in Tampa Bay. Because what I recognize is like, I've been playing video games my entire life, but I didn't know that there was an industry till after I graduated from college. And if I had known that there was an industry, that I would have probably paid more attention in school, in middle school and high school, have made like just more focused decisions and been more responsible. But I didn't know it was possible. And then as I reflect on kind of the success and the challenges that Derek and I have both experienced here in Tampa Bay, like if we had mayors and investors and local businesses who had this book, I don't think that we would have to struggle to get the funding that we need to do, struggle to do, do the work that we need to do to make the community better, to fix and grow the ecosystem. So that's what this book is for, is kind of every major stakeholder from a family perspective and a business community will use this book to go from like zero to I at least understand what the space is. And now you can start to add value to your business and your community as a result.
Yeah, for sure. Like very similar to like my thought process. I in high school, I created like a English newspaper in my high school. I went to a high school in China, right? And then like I never know it could be like a real business. Like after I moved to the Bay Area, I saw all my friends also created business when they're like 18 or something, like, and then they just kept going at it, and eventually they're like pretty successful at doing what they do. I feel like you said, you started when you were like 16, you were writing it for your 16 years old self, like similar to mine. Like I wish people who were not really like having like assets or like haven't really met other young entrepreneurs, they could also kind of see the opportunity that's there and like keep pursuing what they wanted to pursue instead of like going on the route that everyone's on because of it's like a traditional route.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to be well received in several schools. I think we actually have 300 physical copies pre-ordered so far. So I'm excited. I just got to get past this next week and then hopefully get some sleep.
Yeah, like, I mean, congratulations. What is like your major like takeaway from like your journey on writing this book?
Well, and just to clarify, I didn't write the entire book. I think you wrote it based on interviews, but mine is more of a collection of featured profiles. So everyone actually contributed their own pieces. I just kind of wrangled or curated, whatever the appropriate term is. But what I learned was that, you know, I needed to, it was a journey for me because when I first started the book, I wanted to look into my network and get the most popular people that I was connected to, right? Which includes some of the people in teams that we've spoken about today and over the course of the podcast. And what I recognized from my own personal journey was that there's a difference in my mind from thought leadership and impact, or thought leadership and value as a function of popularity, and then thought leadership as a function of impact. And so what I recognize, and this maybe is just my perspective, is that the people who were often the most popular may not have the greatest or most significant thought leadership. So that's where I ended up going in the direction, like as my journey with this book is like focusing on people who have significant impact on the ecosystem. And that's what the book needs to celebrate, is impact and innovation, and not necessarily popularity.
That's my favorite part about the book.
Yeah.
My favorite part about
Yep.
that's my favorite part, because everybody wants to win the popularity contest, and you know, we're popular, and it helps, right? Because then you get funded, you get things like that. So like I get the strategy, but the scale is kind of tipped from like people being actually good at entrepreneurship. And I think, Grace, as an entrepreneur, you can see that, right? It's kind of like the scale has shifted from actually being gritty and grimy and knowing how to make those things happen that you got to make happen, to like trying to make flash in the pan until someone gives you money. You know what I mean? Like that's what I see. So I love that your book has plenty of people in it who like, they're just showing you like, this is exactly what we did. So like, this is how we got here. So like that person who wants to get in could say, okay, so like he went to tournaments first, or okay, like she jumped on Twitter and started talking with somebody and someone says something. Oh, okay, like it's not that expensive to throw your own event. Or okay, like, you know, like that's really what I love about the book. So thanks again. I'm really excited to read it.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm just curious, like you mentioned a really interesting point, right? Like, so the most popular people weren't necessarily the most like made the most like contribution. But why is the popular people popular then? Like, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I feel like a lot of people are really loud on Twitter, but however, like they didn't really do much in like when it comes to like actual contribution, right? But a lot of people who are doing a lot, they don't really have time to tweet, right? Like, but yeah, like really celebrating those people who are tweeting all the time. Like,
I agree.
Consistency.
I agree.
So like, yeah, a lot of popular people, you do a great, even if they're trash. I mean, we see it all the time. So like, they're consistent at being that. So like the consistency and seeing them all the time, and not that they're trash as to like to say, well, damn, but people who are like very consistent, even if they're mediocre, is that we see them all the time. So they already solidified their popularity, is because we see them all the time. And yeah, like the people who are trying to make an impact or something, and it's not just about themselves, don't have time to like be on everything or do everything all the time. They don't have machines working for them. You know, by the time people get popular, they start getting people behind them to make sure that that consistency is up, because their own wealth too and their stabilization relies on that person's popularity. So then they have a whole team. But the people in the background is like, yeah, I'm doing this on myself, and I created these 4 wheels to keep it pushing. And I don't know if I could push it by myself, but I have to. And you know, that's the same thing I see, period, with entrepreneurship. A lot of times it's like you go through a lot of stages and steps and building where it's just you until you start building a team. And just like how a lot of CEOs have said, well, now I have other people to do that work that I was doing. So now I don't have to do it so often. I don't have to work ultra hard. I can just work smart.
You are preaching to me right now. You just don't know. You just
So yeah, I'm trying to reach that plateau. So I'm trying to reach
you
that,
don't think that's a
that
myth?
goal. I don't think that's a myth because we see it all the time. I mean, for example, let's just talk about in high school. I'm just speaking on myself. Like, let's say high school or college, and you was working at one fast food job, and let's say you was on the fries or something, right? And then you got a little promotion, you off the fries now. Now you're telling a person to now you're directing them to do that. It's like an ongoing chain that you're stepping up until you don't have to do all that work anymore. You can oversee it and make sure that the wheels are turning and the oil is there.
Now, this is the conversation I like to have. I like
so
to go, girl,
that's my goal, is that I don't have to do all this work. Someone else is able to do it. They can learn and then pivot to then it's an ongoing thing. We see it all the time. That person's not going to want to stay there and do that for that time. They're going to push it to somebody else that's smarter than them and somebody else. I need a whole bunch of people that's smarter than me that can run my business, and I could be somewhere in Bali or something, just sitting back and looking at the numbers. Like that's
the part that I feel like is a myth.
Nah, bro, I seen it.
I feel like it's a happy medium. Like, I'm doing all right in my entrepreneurship journey with GSG, and I'm gonna tell you, like, you definitely want to do what Reg is talking about. But on the flip side, like, you definitely want to run that Eisenhower play, right? Like, the Eisenhower rule is do it, delegate it, or drop it. You definitely want to run one. You definitely want to be running that, but something's still always gonna be in the do it tray. So, like, for me, like, I'm trying to buy all that time back, like you're talking about. That's why you're preaching to me, because that's what my whole week has just been vetting assistants and things like that. But even for our show, and so like, that's what I've been doing. But it's my do it go up so I can sell more. I'm really great at sales, so like I'm gonna be out doing like sales in the time that like I bought back. I'm gonna be right at LinkedIn Navigator. I'm gonna be right on. Right out at these.
It's something that you don't, Derek. There is something that you don't do anymore that you got someone doing. I don't care if it's cooking for you.
But you should be doing your own.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying, there isn't any freedom. There isn't any freedom.
Unless you make it so.
Because people are difficult. Like, people, like, managing people and people being on expectations of your standards and what your vision, that you'll never magically find a person that is able to fit within your vision. Like, you'll have to steer and control and direct
because it's not their vision.
Monitor. Right, exactly.
Just like, for example, what Gary Vee has said, it's not their vision.
Right. That's work.
But it's work. And they want a paycheck. It's work. It's a paycheck. You have to understand it's not their vision. And if you want to entice them to be as passionate as you're gonna have to do some work. At times you're gonna see how you can make that vision a part of their vision as well. It's just like how I had people writing for me. I had to see who was passionate to want to do it. Not that it was a chore, but that they was passionate to want to do it, and it added on to my passion that I didn't have to create that content. So there's work with it, it's working together. It's not an absolute equation to it at all.
Have you put together
there is room for
the budget that you feel like you need that would be able to support what you want to do? Have you ever actually thought about the numbers?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like,
so if I was a business, if there was someone just like you out there in the audience, how would they put together the numbers to know what they need to help them scale what they're doing or be better or move faster or
I think that's a great question for Grace, because Grace interviewed a bunch of prolific entrepreneurs and
oh my God, Marcus, I have to do something right now. I have to do something. This is I have to do this.
But Grace, just what you've interviewed people who have managed to do that, because in order to have valuable, highly successful businesses, you've got to figure out how to get what we're talking about, like achieve that scale, figure out that magic formula.
Yeah, for sure. I think like you mentioned the 5 like gems. So like I literally I wrote this down in my notebook. So I think one thing I feel like a pattern why these people are so successful, it's like they know themselves, like they know what they're good at, they're not good at, and then they just like hire their weakness and then just like highlight their strength. So I feel like that just definitely gonna accelerate your success. Like basically find out what's your unfair advantage and then like play to that advantage, instead of like if you're not a coder, don't code. If you're not a salesperson, don't sell. Like I feel like just double down on what you're good at, it's more important than doing what's the society is like trying to get you to do, or like what's popular.
Keep going, keep going. You just keep sprinkling.
I like those
sprinkling.
motions.
You're preaching, you're preaching.
Keep sprinkling. Yeah, keep sprinkling. Sprinkle more. They need this. This is what they came for.
I think the number 2 is like basically like focusing on like the big trends versus like doing a lot of small things, right? I think this is what I learned from like my conversation with like SBF. So he created FTX, which is like one of the top like crypto exchange. I feel like, you know, instead of like focusing, I think like for me, I used to focus a lot of like really small things. For example, in my podcast, I say like all the time, but technically like creating a podcast in 2020 was probably the best decision I've made, because because if I was like just so stuck by how I speak, I would not really create one. Than jumping on the trend, because 2020 everyone's stuck at home, so everyone's listening growth just went through the roof, so which is like a huge contribution to like, I wouldn't call it success, but like I guess like the accomplishment of like creating this podcast. Like I feel like figuring out like a trend like in your industry, whether it's like crypto or like whether it's like esports, and then just go all in on that trend is more important than if you're perfect at something that's like stopping you. Which is like, I feel like I have to like give you guys like a huge like round of applause, because of like you guys are creating this podcast, and then like this is like everything you guys talk about in the podcast about NFTs, about the metaverse, about esports are like new things. This is a huge trend, and like I definitely feel like this is like a great podcast to create, and like I feel like, yeah, you guys are doing great in that sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that. I appreciate you guys. And then number 3 is oh my god, I'm terrible at handwriting, so I'm like, what is this? So,
you know what's bad? You can't read your own handwriting.
Seriously, I'm like, oh god. But so I would say it's like stay focused. Like it's similar to like the Steve Jobs theory, like, you know, what you don't do is probably more important than what you do. I feel like there's so many distractions in the world, like you could create so many things at once, but when I started being a creator, I was like looking at the successful online creators on how they created things, and I was listening to like a podcast on podcasting. Basically, they're saying you have to master at one platform before you expand to spread yourself too thin. Like for example, spend 1 year on podcasting, spend 1 year on like creating your YouTube channel, and then your Twitter, and then something else. So I feel like empire is not built by one, like just like in one day. You have to really grind to focus on one thing, to be expert at that thing before you expand into other domain. So those are like my takeaway from like learning from these people. And number 4 is like just being really persistent. Just like when most people stop, if you keep going, you'll win.
Yeah,
like,
she is giving y'all free. I hope whoever's listening to this, oh my god.
I feel like
for real.
Thank you. You guys are winning too. So like you guys are doing like, this is episode 32, and then I feel like people always think quality better than quantity. Honestly, like the more I like observe on the internet, the more I feel like the quantity people sometimes win too. Like
we were just talking about that earlier. We were just talking about that. There's no denying it. Whether you like it or not is up to you, but that's a fact. Like there's no question that people who flood content get a share of the market.
Yeah, and then you can also improve because of your keep doing it.
Right.
Like, you know, your episode 1 is probably very different than episode 32.
Sure.
As you guys like, no, like, you know, this is my first live anything. I'm like, honestly,
I didn't have a chair. I was standing up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. the first episode.
Oh yeah.
Well,
She's like,
now
in the
you have
first
a chair.
episode is rough.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god. Anyway, so I feel like that's a really important thing.
It
And
is.
then number 5. I think number 5. Did I just combine number 5 and number 4? Sorry, I'm terrible at handwriting. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's a really good one. I wanted to say 4 is a really good one. That's why I exploded. Sorry to cut you off earlier, but this is Black Lady at Apple. I forget her name, so please forgive me. My mom will not be happy about that, but I know that like she had this quote that was read aloud in this like seminar I was at, and man, I was like, this is the dopest quote ever. It's like basically she's like probably like ranked like in the top 10. I don't know what number. I want to say 6, but and rank and profile the hierarchy, she's like in the top 10 of Apple currently at the $1 trillion state they're at. And so she's been there like 25 years and stuff. And she started like pretty low, like in what today's position would be like position 82,361. And now she's up at like 6. That's like the whole gimmick is how she like went up. And so she says that the number one thing that she used to get where she is today, and she urges every person she meets to do over everything else, is persistence. She's like, I've been through the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. They come, they go, people gonna come, people gonna go, attitude's gonna change, relationships gonna change, everything's gonna change. The people who get what they want are the ones who are persistent. It is, you could look it up in any industry, look up in any country, any society, anything. If you are persistent, you will be in that percentage of people who define what they call success, because you'll have stayed until you got what you want. The other percentage of people are people who are deciding, look, I'm going to find a state of comfort, right? Mm-hmm. Like I have to find a state of, this has been too long for me. It is too rough. I have other needs. Life happens. But she made it clear that, like, you know, it's not skill. You have plenty of people. We just talked about, Grace just dropped on you guys. Plenty of people who don't got no skills, but they do 10 videos a day, 3 times a week. And that gives them at the end of a month 100 videos. And then at 10 months, they've got 1,000 videos. And now they've got 1 million followers. People do that. We see that today. You don't have to even have a skill set. So skills, when that's the first thing that came to my mind when I read the lady's quote, or when it got read to me, because I was like, that's so true. Because you'd be like, damn, these people aren't even like adding. They're pretty much giving you, some of these people on LinkedIn, right? We won't say any names. A lot of them just give out news that like is out there in the news feed. And then they like act like they somehow delivered some shit to your door. Like, okay. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, Grace. That's why you're laughing. It's like you've seen this, and then they grow their brand that way. Fine, whatever. And that works today. So when she said that, I'm like, this lady's from the 80s. So if it's happening to me today and this lady is saying it, that must be like a fact. You know what I'm saying? Like persistent. You just stay with it, you're gonna be a winner. So I really respect that, Grace. That's dope. That's really dope. And I really hope y'all bit down on that, because I've been finding success with that persistence.
I heard this is like backed by like scientific things. Like, for example, I heard it's because of like it's like the lottery theory. So if you write 10 tweets, and then if Twitter is going to promote one tweet out of like 100, and then you get more like lottery tickets to hit that algorithm, and then like being
Good point. I never thought of that. Good point. That's exactly identical. That's
exactly it. You're right.
That's really practical. Yeah, that's practical. And that's what, and knowing you're playing in that field just makes more of your number. I think it was 2, where it's like learn your own skill or discipline. Because I'm telling you, like the 2 things that have helped me, well, the 3 things I would say have making me the most money in my life to this day are, well, not anymore. Gaming was, I was good one time, I promise. Gaming, but that's what I did my whole life. Like I spent hours in the lab. You guys, they owe me time. You understand? Hours in the lab. Even when it's boring, I reset it and I set the light bars back and I do it again. I do the combo again. I spent hours of 1 million fights on Dead or Alive 4. You can open my account on Xbox. I have 1 million plus fights. Okay. So that's 3 million rounds, because at least 3 rounds a fight, right? So that made me a lot of money at a young age. that just stand back from a view. I could tell you all the stories, all the characters, things that, but just look, a kid playing a video game. That's what I did all day. So I made a lot of money at that. And I really respected that number two, because like then I moved into music and I was able to start making money and accruing money, because that's all I was doing for like 2 years. And then for the last like 3-4 years, because of the pandemic and just the way business was going, I've been marketing and advertising, and I went from experiential out in public, but obviously with everything with the masks and everything going on with us, I switched to digital advertising. And man, like in the last 2 years of my life, like I'm watching this discipline become a generator for my business. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm digging into it and really figuring out ways to make it work, messing up, so that when I mess up, I gain the experience. And then now it's like, it's just another tool on my belt. So when I move forward as an entrepreneur, you know, it's just like, I really felt that one too. And I feel like y'all should really be grateful. I'm glad I met you tonight, Grace. This is our first time meeting, so everybody know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's our first time meeting, but sometimes you get that entrepreneurial click, you know what I'm talking about? And it feels good when it happens. You know what I mean?
Well,
Love it.
Grace, we definitely appreciate you stopping by for Eat for Life podcast today. Thank you for the gems that you gave us.
Yes, you have been a gem. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really love the vibe of this podcast, and I'm gonna binge the rest of the episodes.
Woo!
Well, thank you so
We
much.
have a winner.
Thank you.
Winner, chicken dinner. PUBG,
Take us
don't
out of here,
sue us.
Marcus.
Yeah, just everybody real quick, share what you got going on this week. Grace, as our featured guest, you're welcome to go first.
Sorry, what?
Sorry. At the end of all of our podcasts, we give each of us and our guests an opportunity to share where they can connect with us or anything we have going on this upcoming week. So if you have any events or your podcast or whatever,
yeah,
now's the
somewhere you
time
can
to plug
plug that they can come see you. They just probably had a
you.
bomb time with you. Where can they see you again?
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much. So my podcast is on everywhere. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. The best way to find me is honestly on like LinkedIn or Twitter, maybe. Like it's just Grace Con. And my podcast is with it's called Smart Venture Podcast. Smart Venture Podcast.
I know now.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
All right. I got you, Grace. I'm gonna follow too.
I'm gonna follow you guys too.
I'm gonna go last, and I'm gonna forego my time to show you guys something, because I wanted D and Red had a great talk, and I got to show something. I'm gonna share my screen for a moment, if you guys don't mind. It's the first time we've done this on Eat for Life, but I'm gonna not the first time, but in a while. So I'm gonna share this that I got from a course, and I'm gonna shout out the course creator and everything, because that's the right thing to do. So Red, what do you have coming up next?
The same, with the persistence thing, pumping out more streams and more gaming content, and also re-upping my Hidden Code and Uncovering Black Women in Esports series. So getting more interviewees and editing that stuff back up. And yeah, just doing more coverage. Hip Hop and I are going to go over the Game Awards and make our picks and cover that too. So excited to, collab with Hip Hop, my baby again. So that's what I got going on so far right now.
Oh yeah. I'm looking for when is that? When is the Red and Hip Hop Awards review?
What's today?
What day is it?
What day is it?
I never know the days.
Adulting, all you kids watching, wait till you
because it's on the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. So we want to have it out before the 8th. So either tomorrow or Tuesday.
Okay, please send everybody notes. All of you follow. We love Red. We love hip hop. We want to watch the review. I love when hip hop goes crazy. Then you be dropping. You always are like introspective, like, oh, Ratchet and Clank. It was made with, you be dropping the stuff that, like, as a fighting game player, I never cared about none of that shit, and now I've learned a lot through that from you. So I'm grateful for that.
Appreciate you.
Just fighting a good fight, man. Find me online. I need to get my Instagram followers up. High Point Gamer. Boom.
High Point Gamer. I follow. I also
and
follow
the Twitter up. And the Twitter.
He plays on Oklahoma and he scores weekly. So at least once every Saturday or Sunday, you're going to be excited about touchdowns that someone else scored. But High Point Gamer, great place for gaming, education, and really looking at, Black representation looking strong in gaming. That's what I enjoy whenever I see High Point Gamer, if you asked me, but nobody asked me.
And what you got?
I just
You wanted to
followed.
show
Oh,
us.
you.
Oh, listen, this is hotness. All right. It's come from a guy named, host disabled screen sharing. I guess I'm not in my own rooms anymore. Oh.
All right, let me see if I can do that.
I have to ask for permission. Grace, can you believe at one time I ran these Zoom rooms?
I don't even know how to do
you
that.
See what I said?
The mighty have fallen.
Multiple can share dual monitors, all participants. I found it.
This guy kicked me out. He just found it. So this thing comes from this dude, and you guys may know him. Grace, you might know him. I'm sure you've been. I'm really deep into the marketing world. So this guy is Billy Jean. Does a ton of courses in education. So shout out to Billy Jean, his team. This was really helpful. So I actually did this back in like March, February, maybe late January, February, before we started the show. And so it's called a destination planner. It gets into what Derek and Red were talking about when you're talking about scaling a business, or repeating if you get clients or things like that, or if you have customers, growing a product, whatever. You need to know your expenses that are fixed for your house. You need to know your discretional expenses, everything that you have as far as your income versus your output, and you need to lay it out. And then you need to lay out the destination so you know what you're working towards, because a lot of us don't ever know, like, listen, to live the life I want to live, like, I have a habit, all right? I have an addiction, and I had to come to terms with it. I am addicted to living in Southern California, okay? So for me, I have to support this addiction. You get that? All right? I'm aware that my brothers are down there in Tampa, and we could be playing basketball and video games every day. I sacrifice that because this addiction is strong, all right? I have to support it. It is in, my budget. Now, that said, I think about the difference it's going to take me to get to what I'm trying to get. And right next to this, and so we don't need to go through everything, but obviously, I'll tell you this. If you want me to sell you on it, I'm not at 15,000, which is my destination budget, but I'm way closer than 4,000 now. Tell you that, celebratorily. So, I would say the other thing that's really great with it is it has a sales planner. So you can also do your sales budget, right? Like you can see like what it costs you to get per client, how much, you can charge a client, how much you're going to charge a client, how much you charge to sell a video, how much, whatever
That's
you're doing,
great.
you can put it in. And that way it helped me I'd say from like January, February till today. It has 2.5 gold standard gaming, no question. Like,
but that's great, because a lot of people that's starting out digital wise, either doing consulting or whatever, they finally have a client for something, they never know what to charge because they never actually look at their living expenses or even what they want to gain for wealth. So they like stuck. And that right there gives a blueprint to know, okay, this is what I need to charge because this is what's going to help me be sustainable and to save and have wealth too at the same time to make a profit. So I love that blueprint right there.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Eat for life.
And you have to share that.
Of course, I'll share with you guys. But you guys can make it on your own. Basically, it's a sheet in a Google sheet. If you don't know how to do a Google sheet, that's where perhaps a Fiverr seller could come in and make it for you, right? And put in the Excels or whatever if you can't. But it's true.
Well,
you have to begin in this new digital economy. All these creators that Grace and Red and Derek and Marcus are telling you about, they all have these things, right? Like they're gonna have someone managing their budget, but also too the other thing I said, the Fiverr thing. They're gonna have some freelancer handling the content they need, handling. You got to start being able to get these things wheeled off, so that you can put more time into your core competency. And Derek, I definitely thought that's what you was trying to get to earlier.
It should be able to have a conversation.
Are you talking? Because you're muted, I think.
An agreement, not be.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Derek.
Can't hear you.
Oh,
I hear you now. Oh, you're not talking.
Oh, he's on the phone.
Okay, okay. No. Okay, yeah. So whatever I was saying, it was important. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you guys for giving me that little moment, but I hope it helps, any entrepreneur out there. It really helped me jump that leap to like what I need to charge, like Red said, or like realistically, where can I make cuts, or how can I get another client if I do? It helps with everything, and just the practice of that as well, and messing up there. It really, 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 really helped me. So I hope that kind of settles
Love
the
it.
conversation. But I'll send that over to you, of course. It's dope. You guys get one. It's dope.
Then
Billie
what
Jean,
I'm doing this week is
remember.
launching the book this week. Actually, as soon as I finish up with this podcast, I've got another podcast scheduled in about 5 minutes with James O'Hagan, who is a guest on our podcast. He has the Academy of Esports. He's actually, this will be episode 115 for him.
Okay.
James
is the OG though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about the book in more detail. And then I got to finish up a Kickstarter campaign, hopefully launch it on Thursday. I got a couple of sponsors to close and then sleep.
Busy week for Marcus.
Then I left my full-time job on Thursday, or put in a 2-week notice on a full-time job on Thursday. I'm moving full force into the blockchain, metaverse, and crypto space.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah.
For real. Many, many prayers and blessings for real. It's always great to step out. No, for real. Like, be on boss.
Man, listen, I've been doing this since 2017, and I love it. It's not always fun, but it is the only way I think you can guarantee that you can eat for life. So I love that we had you on, Grace. Thank you. Don't be a stranger. Come back, holla back. You was on what? Right. There's a thing in our community we call Color People Time, and we was on it today at 6:27. So 27 minutes late from leaving the party, but you had a good time.
It was DLC. It was extra DLC. It was great.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. You guys are so fun to chat with.
Thank you for coming.
You too,
Grace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. Or we do an episode next week?
No. We're done for the year.
Okay, so we're done for the year. You will see.
Grace, you're saying bye to everybody for the year. So
wow.
Everybody for the year, right?
Closing it out.
Derek, you too. This is it for the year. So the next time we see you guys, it'll be 2022. Okay? So finish your year. Stay strong. It's 3 weeks left. You made it through, what does that mean? Like 48, 49? Stay strong. It's almost 2022. I'll see you guys on the other side, okay?